Beach wildlife of Western Ghat and beautiful forest in Sangod, Mollem, Shigaon, Kole and nearby villages of Dharbandoda Taluka are facing the threat from three infra projects. Even protected Bhagwan Mahavir Wildlife Sanctuary and Mollem National Park are not away from the edge of the X of making grounds for double lining of Southwestern Railway between Pune in Goa with Castle Rock in Karnataka, widening of National Highway 4A and for a high tension transmission line for electricity supply from Raipur, Chhattisgarh.
There are three. One is, as I said, high tension line is completely new. And it is coming in the Bhagwan Mahavir Wildlife Sanctuary Park, and it is going to cut across one portion of the wildlife sanctuary. It enters in one place and then goes out from Sangod village. It comes, it enters Mollem and then goes out to Karnataka. Then we have the existing road. The existing road is very narrow, but it is a 2-lane road. They want to make it into 4-lane.
30 scientists along with us who worked all across Goa and who have Goan origin, who have looked at the environment impact assessment reports, two of which, the railway and the road, were in public domain. The transmission line in Sangod village was not even in public domain to review. So one of the things about the projects is that all the information is not accessible to the public. Second is when like scientists study the reports, the road report for instance, now it is not again available in public domain, it has been taken out from
that EIA report.
The EIA report has things like for the first time where there is a road, there'll be increase in sighting frequencies of animals. This sort of pattern is never seen anywhere in the world. So the report, all the decisions that are being taken on insufficient evidence.
They are saying we can go by the Railway Act. We are saying Railway Act is not given in the Constitution of India. Wildlife protection is in the part of the Constitution of India. Article 48A very clearly requires the governments to ensure the care of wildlife in this country. There is no such prevailing clause which says that they should protect the railways of the country. Wildlife is of a different level of protection. So, if you examine all these three, you will find that in every case they are proposing not to replace. Suppose you say the railway line is gone, we want to replace it or whatever. I can understand. But today you are trying to increase and double the amount of traffic, the trains and the extent of the railway. They said that we have now put the new railway line adjacent to the old railway line. Before that it was not adjacent, it was inward, still further inward. It would have created a fourth cut to the sanctuary. But if you look at it very carefully, it is not strictly, because in some portions of the railway line you cannot have a parallel railway line.
This is our national park. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It has tigers, which everywhere in the world they're trying to conserve. It also is a biodiversity hotspot. There are only 2 in India and only 36 in the world, and Goa has one of these. So for me, I just found that putting infrastructure projects in your primary protected area does not make sense.
त्या जाग्या भितर जैव विविधता इतकी विविध तरेन नटले कडेन आसा ती मागीर व्हडल्या व्हडल्या वखदी रुखांच्या रुपान जावं पाशाणाचें गार्डन जावं रॉकी गार्डन जावं फ्लोरा फावना जावं अशा ह्या सगळ्या प्रकरणाची जर राखण करतलो जाल्यार आमी गोंयकारांनी इरेस्पेक्टीव ऑफ पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज ऑर पॉलिटिकल थॉट्स हेच घडीभर कुशीक दवरून आमकां जर हें पर्यावरण सांबाळपाचें आसा जाल्यार हे बॅरियर कुशीन काडून आमकां मुखार सरचें पडटलें.
Goa government itself has made statement in assembly that the total forest land proposed for diversion are doubling of railway track project 138.39 hectares, four laning of national highway project 93.451 hectares and transmission line project 146.05 hectares. That total comes to 378.891 hectares.
I have been brought up here only. I am local from Mollem area, so I have seen this road widening, undergoing construction several times. And what I have found, every time they have cut, we used to get landslides, and that time we used to have road blockages because of landslides. For the last 20 years, we don't find any kind of landslides. That is mainly because they have not cut the roads on both the sides. And now, if they disturb again, that will disturb the entire topography of the wildlife area, and that will hamper the wildlife.
Goa government has identified and marked about 69,000 trees to cut according to the proposal. For doubling of railway track project, 21,878 trees. For laning of national highway project, 33,806 trees, and transmission line project, 13,130 trees. That get the total to 68,814 trees.
A very recent visit to the sites where the transmission line and the double tracking of the railway track is proposed has brought to my notice a few plants that I know are really important to the locals here. So firstly, I came across this plant called Raulfia serpentina, which is called Atki in local language. It's a medicinal plant. Then I came across another flowering plant locally called as Pitkoli or Podkoa, Ixoria coccinea in scientific name. That is, the flowers are used culturally. They have cultural importance of this plant. And the fruit is also edible. Then I came across a plant locally known as kudo, whose leaves are still used in BDs by the locals. The scientific name is Holorina antidysentrica. And there's another plant called Ran Halad, the scientific name being Curcuma aromatica. So these are all medicinal plants and all plants which have been culturally used by local communities across Goa. So just a 5-minute random survey has disclosed so much biodiversity in these areas where deforestation has already taken place. So if that much can reveal us this much of biodiversity, I wouldn't express in words how much more would have been already lost by the trees that have already gone off. And yeah, we also came across this southern birdwing, which is one of the largest butterflies in India, and it's endemic to the Western Ghats. So, there are a lot of plants, a lot of flora and fauna that are like facing the aches right now, and we really need to do something about it.
Due to pending environmental clearance from MOEF and litigation before the High Court of Goa and the Central Empowered Committee, tree felling for double tracking and highway widening is on hold.
Government stated that no work has started there yet. So they didn't look into the question of interim relief because nothing has started. But if something starts, then of course we have liberty to go to the court and have a hearing for the interim relief. So the court can decide.
But thousands of trees have been cut in Sangod village for transmission line project, that too during the lockdown.
मी लहानपणा आमच्या आजी वांगडा हांगा येवपाचें हांगा आमची गोरवां बिरवां रावपाचें ते सगळें रान कापून सगळें काबार केलें आमच्या गोरवांक खूब त्रास जाता येवपाक आनी येदो व्हडलो ट्रान्समिशन लायन जाता हांगा लायट जाता म्हणल्यार हांगचो पावर सगळो धूळ सगळें इफेक्ट आमच्या गांव हांगा लागींच आमचो गांव आसा बारीक भुरगीं गोरवां हांगा येता सगळ्यांक हो त्रास जाता आनी हांगा आमचे पयलीं शेत करताले जाणटेले पयलीं आनी इतलीं झाडां लॉकडावन गोवोरमेंटान इतलो बेनिफीट केलो ही सगळीं झाडां कट केली आमच्या लागींच्या गांवांतल्या लोकांक सुद्दां खबर नासा.
Prudent started the investigation to assess the damage that can be caused by the 3 proposed projects in Mollem and nearby areas. The only one this picture is the evidence that how much destructive this project can be. This picture behind me shows itself.
The proposed damage to the forest has made uneasy and concerned the environmentalist and social activist.
For example, take coronavirus. Why do we have this situation now where the world has shut down because we've destroyed all of our wild spaces, and now diseases that are normally controlled within those wild spaces are now coming in contact with humans. So the more we destroy our wild spaces, the less resilient we are as humans, the more contact we will have with what they call zoonotic diseases. Over 400 medical students in Goa have actually written to the MOEF and the Centrally Empowered Committee of the Supreme Court to say that we will have more zoonotic diseases if we do things like destroy forests in Mollem, because it puts humans in more contact with animals, and that's something we shouldn't have.
If you consider that the railway line will be fragmenting practically into two, from one it will become two. If you consider the road is not just extension of the road becoming two, and you consider the high tide line, high tension line is actually going into a sanctuary where none existed before, then what you are doing is you are creating through one sanctuary, which is basically Bhagwan Mahavir Wildlife Sanctuary came first. Then from that a portion of it has become the Mollem National Park. So you have these three lines, linear lines going directly through the sanctuary at three different points and basically fragmenting the sanctuary. So it becomes very difficult. Then instead of having one big wildlife sanctuary and national park for the animals, now you have three. And what is dividing them is hazardous activity. Trains which are going across, buses, trucks, traffic, cars, whatever it is going on. So it's a nightmare to even think that you can propose projects like this.
आधीच राष्ट्रीय महामार्ग 4A आसात 4A आसाच. दुसरे वटल्यान कितलेशेच आदी साकून पोर्चुगीज टायमार साकून ही रेल्वे आसा. म्हणटा अशा संदर्भात आतां हें नवीन आनी कित्याक तुमी करपाक जाय, विध्वंस करपाक जाय. जें कितें जालां तें बरें आसा, तितूकच ही सुदारणा न्ही, हें नवीन प्रोजेक्ट हे. ट्रान्समिशन जावन लायन जावन ट्रान्समिशन लायनीचे सकयल जर दुसरें कांयच जावचें ना. ट्रान्समिशन लायनीच्या संदर्भात जिवाणू सुद्दां सकयल त्या जमनीचेर वचना. रूख जर पेडां जर सामके पेडां कशीं जीं झाडां आसात ती तर मारतलेच, पूण कांयच जावचें ना. म्हणटा ह्या संदर्भात ह्या 30 मिटराच्या रुंदीकरणाच्या संदर्भात ह्या प्रोजेक्टाचेर खूब मोठें लुकसाण जातलें. जैवविविधते कडेन तर मार बसतलोच, पूण झाडां पेडाचें निसंतान जातलें. रॉकी गार्डन फोडचें पडटलें. दुधसागराची आमची जी ब्युटी आसा, कविवारी बाकीबाब बोरकाराच्यान हांस हांस दुधसागरा म्हणपाचो जो पळय हें आसा, तेजे संदर्भात तेजें रूप आसा तें पालटतलें.
From Mollem to reach right up to this Angod is quite a huge steep now. How they are going to do it and how many years they will take, and they said the period of construction would be nothing less than 7 to 8 years. So 7 to 8 years you will have active disturbance in the wildlife sanctuary. Traffic, movement, heavy equipment, cement mixing machines, because you are going to make culverts and all that. Nothing is there in the EIA reports.
I'm a zoologist. आणि हांगासरल्या लोकां बरोबर काम केल्ल्या कारणान आमकां खबर आसा की जे हांगासर आतां फॉरेस्ट कट जातले ताजो इम्पॉर्टन्स त्या लोकांक, त्या फॉरेस्टाचो इम्पॉर्टन्स पयलीं म्हणल्यार त्या लोकांक कितें आसा. त्या फॉरेस्ट म्हटल्यार त्या लोकांक बायोडायवर्सिटी रिसोर्साची खाण आसा. ते त्या फॉरेस्टाचेर जगता. त्या फॉरेस्टांतल्यान खुबशे रिसोर्सीस ते हार्वेस्ट करता. खुबशे गांवांत वैद्य आसात, बाकीचे लोक आसा जे फॉरेस्टान वचून खूब मेडिसिनल प्लांट्स आसा जी हार्वेस्ट करता. बाकीची खुबशी वायल्ड प्लांट्स आसा जी कल्चरली आनी एस्थेटिकली तांकां इम्पॉर्टंट आसा, ते थंय वचून हार्वेस्ट करतात. खुबशी रानभाज्यो आसात, अळमी म्हण आनी बाकीचे जे रिसोर्सीस आसात ते फॉरेस्टांतल्यान ते कलेक्ट करतात आनी तेजेरूच तेंचे सदां पोट चलता. ताजे वयल्यानूच तांकां इनकमूय मेळटा.
In environment impact assessment, one is the impact of the project. Then the second part of the project that the proponents have to put is what are the mitigation measures. So how will you address the impacts of the project? So the mitigation measures are completely inadequate. Where, for instance, they are saying they are going to put underpasses. There is no information of whether animals are moving, will move between those areas. So those mitigation measures are inadequate. The second thing is that, see, there are 3 projects. There is 1 forest. Each of these projects cannot be looked at in isolation because they are also close together. So they have to be looked at cumulatively. So you have to have a study where you look at these 3 projects, how are they going to affect Mollem Wildlife Sanctuary, and what will be their effect. That study does not exist right now. So that mitigation measures also cannot be suggested because they are not studied in total.
Few says that they can tolerate the project if the local youth are given government jobs.
थोडीशी तेंच्यांनी कितें प्लांट कटींग केला म्हणटा ते बी हांव मान्य करता ना म्हणना. तेन्ना जो हो आमचो विलेज आसा जो आमचो सुकतळे आनी सुकतळे वार्डाक हो प्रोजेक्ट येता तेन्ना तेंच्यांनी आमकां कितें सांगलां गांवच्या लोकांक एक हेजे पयलींच्यान आमकां हांगा एक एम्प्लॉयमेंट म्हणून कांयच ना. इवन एक गव्हर्मेंट सर्वंट आनी ते शिवाय बाकीची हे फॅक्टरी आसा थंय सुद्दां आमचो हे गांवचो भुरगो यूथ एकटोय नोकरी ना. तेन्ना ही परिस्थिती जी सुकतळची आसा शी जवळ जवळ 25 ते 30 वर्सां चलता की सगळे भुरगे हांगचे बेकार आसा. इवन खंयचोय कोणी येवं सरकार येवं कितेंय येवं पूण हांगा आमचे तर सुकतळेक एक जॉब म्हणटा तो ना अजून सुद्दां. तेन्ना आमकां गांववाल्यांक आनी तेंचे वतीन म्हाका बी दिसता हो एक प्रोजेक्ट जावचो आनी तेंच्यांनी जो आश्वासन दिलां जे आमी एक ट्री कटींग केला तेन्ना तेणी कितें सांगलां आमी जितली ट्री कटींग केल्या तितली आमी लायता आनी ते उपरांत आमकां पंचायतीन सुद्दां तेणी सांगलां आमी बाकीचे तुमी आमकां जागो दिया. तेन्ना आमी ट्री कटींग थंय केल्या ती आमी ते भरून हे काडटा. पूण असो एक आमकां अजून सुद्दां लेटर मेळना ते अशें करतले म्हणून आमचे विलेजीक. आनी जेन्ना जो जॉबाचो जो विशय आसा तेन्ना हो विशय आसा हो आमकां ठोस पुरावो तेंचे कडल्यान जाय. ना जाल्यार हो पावर प्रोजेक्ट आसा तांकां आमी कशेंच मान्यता हे गांवांक दिवचे ना. फक्त आमचो विशय चड आसा हे भुरग्यांक युथाक जॉबाचो, दुसरो विशय कांयच ना.
But mostly don't believe that this projects will generate government job or job security for the local youth.
म्हाका दिसना ही सगळी चिकना फकाणां आनी एम्प्लॉयमेंट म्हणटा जाल्यार कसले तरेचो एम्प्लॉयमेंट सेक्युरिटी ऑफ जॉब केन्ना मेळपाचें आसा. आतां आसले ती 39 कायदे सरकारान 39 लेबर लॉस हॅज चेंज विथ इन ए नायट. आतां येयलें तें काम जाय जाल्यार काम कर ना जाल्यार चल घरा खोट मारपाची. आतां एकदां फिक्स टायम एम्प्लॉयमेंट आसलें कसलें एम्प्लॉयमेंट मेळटलें. तितून सेक्युरिटी ऑफ जॉब म्हणटा तेका तितून कांय ना. कोण तरी कॉन्ट्रॅक्टर येतलो तुका जाय जाल्यार काम कर म्हणटा इतलें जाल्यार दॅट इज नॉट एन एम्प्लॉयमेंट. लोकांना कोणा एम्प्लॉयमेंटान रेल्वेक लोकांक आतां जें पळय चल्लां पॅरलल लायनीच्यान जें पळय कॉन्ट्रॅक्टवर चल्ला तितून लोकल लोक कोण आसा तर लोकल लोक कोण आसा कोण ना. खंयचो तरी कॉन्ट्रॅक्टर बिहाराचो खंयचो कलकत्ताचो खंयचो आंध्राचो खंयचो कोण तरी कॉन्ट्रॅक्टर येता आनी तो आपल्याला जाय तशें काम करून वयता. लोकलांक कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट कर म्हणटा ही सगळीं म्हाका हांव टिका करिना पण हितून कांय राम ना, हितून कांय जान ना, हितून ही सगळी जुमलेबाजी.
Rather, local villagers are fearing immediate displacement and loss of livelihood of many families.
If you have a broad highway over here, we will lose our livelihood. And we are more concerned about this. Because if we are here for more than 70-80 years here, and our livelihood depends on this highway. Residents, we don't mind having somewhere else, but mainly we want to protect our livelihood.
वास्तवीक पळोवपाक गेले जाल्यार दुधसागर हो आमचो पोटा पाण्याचो प्रश्न. हांगसरले 431 गोंयांत खंयच ना अश्यो जीपी हांगा टुरिस्ट परमिटेड सगळे कायदे पाळून सरकाराचे सगळे कायदे फॉरेस्टाचे सगळे कायदे काडून हांगसर 431 लोक डायरेक्टली 431 जीपी काडून तेजेर पोट भरता. ताचेर गायड आसा आनी ताचे शिवाय वेगळेपणान ड्रायव्हर आसा. थोडे सेल्फ ड्रायव्हिंग करता पूण मोठो 3/4 पार्ट आसा तो ड्रायव्हर दवरून करता. म्हणजे एम्प्लॉयमेंट आसा, सस्टेनेबल पोट भरपाचें साधन आसा आनी हें सगळें चलता तें दुधसागराचेर.
Locals and activists expressed their grief, claiming that the Goans do not require these projects as existing infrastructure are enough for them and these projects are aimed only to benefit coal handlers.
I think mostly why they are doing this project for only the purpose of coal transmission. So I don't think this will be going to help us.
Goa is celebrated as a tourism destination for India. People come here to relax, to take a break. That's how our main form of income comes in, is through tourism. Why are we jeopardizing our future tourism prospects by putting in infrastructure that's going to support coal?
And the railway traffic is very dangerous traffic. It is largely coal. And that you are going to introduce today the Mollem Wildlife Sanctuary, Bhagwan Mahavir National Park, they are vintage environments. They are undisturbed, relatively undisturbed environments. And you will be introducing coal there because there always the winds are very high. There will be a lot of wind, coal falling inside, and a lot of coal getting into the atmosphere and all that sort of thing.
But there is some statistic that says the reason why they're putting the railway through Goa is because it's a little bit shorter than taking it through a certain port in Karnataka, and it works out 6 or 7 rupees cheaper per ton to have it from an MPT port rather than transport the coal from another port. So for that 6 rupees per ton cheaper, you are now jeopardizing our primary protected area, and you're going to be targeting the homes of so many Goan people.
I don't see why coal, which is of benefit only to the projects in Karnataka, thermal power plants or what, steel making plants, why the coal should have to go through Goa? I cannot understand because except for MPT getting some money, I do not know who else is benefited by this project. There is a Karwar port, which is in Karnataka. There is a Mangalore port, which is in Karnataka. During the illegal mining scam of Bellary was exporting ore from Karwar port. They were also exporting from the Marmagua port trust, but they were also exporting from Karwar port. And they have got Mangalore port, which is closed down because Kudremukh project was closed down.
Now, the locals and the activists are looking towards the court, hoping that court will quash the permissions so far granted and will save the forest, wildlife environment and part of mystic Western Ghats.
See, this High Court, we are fighting it on multiple grounds. On the High Court, we are going again on the grounds of the violation of the Wildlife Protection Act. The CEC is a different thing. What the procedure is that the Goa State Wildlife Board grants the recommendation. After that, it goes to the National Board for Wildlife. After they grant their permission, because of an order of the Supreme Court, all the permissions granted by the National Board for Wildlife have to go to the CEC. The CEC is the Central Empowered Committee, which is set up by the Supreme Court to look at permissions that are being granted in protected areas and so on. Now the CEC has to look at the permissions that are granted, and what happens is if the CEC believes that there is any problem with the permissions, then they can go to the Supreme Court. The CEC themselves will go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has also allowed that if anybody has any issues with, if anyone has any complaints basically with permissions that are granted, they can make representations to the CEC, which we have done.
The Central Empowered Committee is a committee that is, you can put your suggestions forth as different stakeholders. So we have put our suggestions forth as scientists, TTAG, Travel and Tourism Association of Goa has put forth their representation as tourism people and livelihoods angle. Now, like you are asking about the legal part. So lawyers, 23 lawyers across India have put forth their representation. They are not connected to the case. They are not connected to what is happening in Karnataka or in Goa. They have put forth their representation on what is the failure of due process. That is, they have put it forth to the CEC. It is up to whoever's filed the case to review all the petitions, and the CEC will take a decision based on that.
आम्ही एक सायडीनच ऑपोजच करता, कसलें कितें येयलें म्हणटा ऑपोजच करता अशेंय न्ही, तर आमी ऑपोज सामके खऱ्या कावजा खातीर आमी हें करतले, आनी फॉर द कॉमन गूड कॉज ऑफ कॉमन पीपल आमी लोकल पीपल, लोकल पंचायत, आमी बाकीचे सगळे आमचे हें दायज जें पळय आसा, निसर्गांतलें हें दायज आसा, तेजे संदर्भांत आमची नाळ आसा, आमची वारच हांगा पुरल्या, सो आमची नाळ आसा थंय, अशे संदर्भांत ह्या पर्यावरणाचेर अशें सोंपेपणी घालपाक जायना म्हणून आमी तांकां सांगलां की तो प्रोजेक्ट तुमी कसो जातलो, कितें आसतलें, खंयचो रूख वयतलो, कितले रूख वयतले, हेजे सकट आमकां सगळें दाखय म्हणून.
Because last parts of Goa remain in the forest. So I am hopeful on that front.
After going through the documents, talking to experts, and meeting with locals, we found that this is not only about saving the Mollem. It is about saving the livelihood of locals, it is about saving the forest, it is about saving the wildlife, and moreover, it is about saving the identity and future of Goa.